Hello and welcome to today's podcast with Gardening with Ben. I hope you're all alright, and thank you for everybody that's been tuning back in. I know we've had a bit of a gap in the podcasts, but now we're back recording them on a regular basis, and it's always good to see. I can see all the stats on where people are listening from, and it's great to see that I'm getting out to America, Canada, the UK, India. It just baffles me how far it's traveling. So thank you so much for everybody that's listening and for the platforms that you are listening on. As now I'm on more platforms, reaching a bigger audience, hopefully. So today's podcast is going to be about what jobs you need to do in January in the garden. Yesterday we looked at what seeds need planting in January. Today we're going to be looking at what jobs you should be doing in the garden this month. So if we're going to be looking at the vegetables first. So first, if you're growing peas early, if you're wanting to start an early batch off, I don't tend to start my peas off until April time though. But if you're planning on starting an early batch, what you can do to warm the ground up is cover it with some plastic or some cardboard or something, just to start warming the ground up and to keep it warm, because obviously it's frosty at the moment. If you're growing parsnips, what you need to do is you can start picking them now, as it's always best to pick your parsnips after you've had a frost, as this adds flavour to the parsnips themselves. If you're growing some potatoes, maybe you're growing some potatoes in your polytunnel in tubs, as you can grow them all through the year, but in the polytunnel if you want to, and you can grow them in tubs. If you're growing them in there, make sure they're kept at a decent temperature, because you don't want the cold killing them off. So just chuck some horticultural fleece over the top of your potatoes, and that will keep them warm, and it will hopefully protect them from any frost damage, as you don't want the frost killing off all your hard work what you've done. So the jobs for the fruit garden. Now is the perfect time to be pruning your apple trees and your pear trees, but do not prune your plum trees or your cherry trees yet, anything that's got a stone inside it, as they don't want to be pruned until the March time, as the cold could damage the tree itself. So you don't want to be pruning your stone trees yet. Just stick to pruning your apple trees and your pear trees. Now, if you're wanting an early crop of rhubarb, I checked my rhubarb the other day and it's actually started growing now. If you're wanting an early crop of rhubarb, what you need to do is you need to force it, and that means by putting a bucket over the top or something with some small holes in it, just so that it forces it to grow towards the light. So if you're wanting an early crop of rhubarb, feel free to force it. I don't particularly force my rhubarb, I just let it grow naturally, and I'll be picking my first lot of batch probably in April time. So your black currants, your gooseberries, your red currants, your white currants, all these bushes can be pruned this month, ready for them waking up in a few months' time, as they're still dormant around this time of year in the winter. So you can prune them now, ready for them waking up in a few months' time. This time of year, it's also good to be checking that your fruit supports, your wires, your stakes are all intact for your plants. If there's any wires that are damaged, replace them, or if there's any stakes what have rotted, make sure you replace them. Make sure your trees are supported well, and all the general jobs in making sure that they grow properly. You can still be planting your fruit trees and bushes this month, as the ground is wet, so it's the perfect time to be planting them. If the ground's hard when you purchase them, just store them somewhere where they can get some water and plant them when the ground is not hard. And the jobs which need doing in the flower garden are, if you're growing winter pansies, as the flowers die on the heads of the plants, make sure you dehead them. This will encourage more flowers to grow on the plant, and it will encourage more blooming in your garden, as you don't want to see the dead flowers on the plants. You want to see the nice blooms. So make sure you dehead them once the flowers die. And if you've not pruned your roses yet, make sure you prune them and get them ready for planting. So it's been a short little podcast today. Also, if you do like my podcast, the Grow Your Own magazine have set a competition out for the best garden influencer, blogger, podcaster. So make sure you go on their Facebook page and feel free to nominate me. I'll appreciate that. So check out the Grow Your Own magazine Facebook page and nominate Gardening with Ben. And I hope you do enjoy it. Remember to click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all my information and my latest podcast. So thank you once again for listening to today's podcast. And as always, remember, keep gardening.